All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of No Cover TV's podcast. That's right, I'm your host, Big Al, and yes, that's right, I take the original local and national music scene and I just shove it in your face and I just kind of smack you around a little bit because you need to hear what's out there. I know you're playing the radio constantly in the car and you're probably a bunch of singers in the car. You're professionals. But I'd like you to turn down that radio a little bit and roll down that window, stick your head out there and try to listen because there's some great, great music out there of all genres and age groups. Please check out and support the original music scene out there. Please do. So we've got a great show for you. Before I get to our guest today, you need to know how to get a hold of me. That's right. You can get a hold of me a few different ways to get on the show. That's through, you can email me, nocovertv@yahoo.com, or Facebook, the No Cover TV page, or my Al Brady personal page. Or if you like Instagram, it's No Cover TV with a number 1 at the end, No Cover TV 1 on Instagram. So we're getting you all over the place and all over the world. It's amazing, the music all over the world. So let's not waste any time. We've got a great show for you today. Very special show today for me and our guest. So our guest today is going to represent the band today. So Marq Andrew Speck is in the house from the band Sweet Crystal. Mark, how you doing, brother?
Dude, I'm having so much fun, I can't even tell you. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your podcasting antics to include us. This is a blessing, man.
Wow, it's a blessing to have you on. I've been, of course, checking the music out, and you got me pumped up, and I'm feeling good. Feeling real good. So we're going to get into a little bit here. We got a lot to talk about, Mark. You are a very interesting person.
Well, I'd like to think so, but you know what? Life is pretty interesting. So sometimes I feel like I'm just going along for the ride. Not really sure if I'm leading or following, but you know what? I take every day as a present, and we just keep doing what we're doing. So I appreciate you saying that. That's
beautiful. Now, Mark, you're out of between the Detroit area. You're in Michigan like I am.
Yeah, that's great. I love Grand Rapids. We back in the day, and there are many back in the days for us. We've been together almost 5 decades. Next year,
5 decades.
As a matter of fact, will be our 50th year together. The 3 gents that started Sweet Crystal, myself, Steve Weezer on drums, and Bill Blatter on guitar, have been together for 50 years next year. And we used to play in Grand Rapids a lot. There were a lot of really good clubs in Grand Rapids, and it's been a while since we've been back over there, but no reason why we can't do a road trip now that we know you.
Yes, exactly. I got to get you up here. Definitely. I am glad you contacted me. I really am, Mark. You're a great singer and songwriter and performer. 50 years at Sweet Crystal.
You know what? That is a landmark. A lot of people don't stay together that long with friends or family or marriages or bands, but we've been blessed. The 3 of us that started this have always had a common goal. We've gone through, a lot of different issues, ups and downs, and pretty much that's why partway through our journey, we became basically a Christian rock band because God had a plan for us, and the stuff we were going through, the only way we got through it was by basically giving our lives over and saying, all right, what are we supposed to be doing here? And because of that, we're still together to this day, playing pretty much every month, rehearsing every week. We get together regardless if we have a gig coming up or a recording coming up. We get together every weekend and just keep doing what we're doing because the music, the message talks to us, I hope, as much as it does to other people. And so as long as it keeps inspiring us to keep moving forward, we're hoping that someone will hear our music and feel uplifted the same way we do just by playing it.
Oh, well, it's definitely uplifted me, and we will talk about a few songs towards the end of the interview because I won't get there yet because they're very powerful songs. So, but anyways, let's introduce the other members real quick.
Sure. Myself, Marq Andrew Speck on keyboards and lead vocals. Bill Blatter is the guitar player who does most of the heavy lifting for all the melody lines and the leads and such. Steve Weezer is on drums, and the newest member of our band, although he's now been with us for 5 years, so I don't know when you lose the new label, but is Martin Kukar on bass guitar. He happens to be our 13th bass guitarist.
13.
So I don't know if you've ever seen the Spinal Tap movie, but we had the same issue with bass players that they had with drummers, combusting.
Right, yeah. I always have to put my bass players and drummers kind of on different planets because they work differently. Most definitely.
Well, we're very lucky with Marty. He's come into the fold, and I think after 5 years we've passed his audition. So it works out really, really well. It's a very good core unit of men that just basically have the same musical taste and goals, and that's what keeps us strong. There really is no drama in this band with the four of us.
That's amazing. Like I said, 50 years together. Like I said, that doesn't happen for pretty much any band almost to stay together that long and have that kind
I'd
of
say
commitment.
it's us and the Rolling Stones.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
Yeah. They're still together. They're still doing their thing. So, okay. Now, I don't have the other guys to talk to, so I get to pick on you, Mark. Okay?
Sure.
Okay, good. So, before I get to a bunch of stuff here, we definitely have got to go on the time capsule machine. We got to take a journey. You ready?
Sure.
Okay.
You talking spandex?
Yeah. Yes, I'm going even before spandex, all right? All right. We're going to go past the spandex area. Oh, I don't even remember that. Oh, but anyways, Mark, you're 12 years old. What are you listening to, and how did music become a part of your life?
Well, 12 years old, I would say right about that age, the first concert I ever went to was the Dave Clark 5. And I have a feeling your listeners probably won't even know who that is.
Right.
But I was living in Nashville at that time. My father's job moved us around a lot, and we were in Nashville. And that was the first time I ever went with my big sister and her date to a concert. And it was Dave Clark 5 and somebody named Sam the Sham and the Pharaohs. His big hit was Wooly Wooly. I stood at the side of the stage, and the keyboard player, who is actually Dave Clark from the Dave Clark 5, turned sideways, saw me, and waved to me.
Really?
And I think that's what made me go, I want to be that guy.
Oh, that's great.
And I became that guy. That's pretty amazing.
That was the start. So at what age did you pick up your first instrument? And what was that instrument?
Well, it was actually guitar.
Guitar.
So it would have been about probably a year later. I picked up guitar. Living in Nashville, everybody plays in Nashville, and our next door neighbor had a band that played in their garage. Okay. And so I would look out my bedroom window and watch them, listen to them, and realize that's what I wanted to do. We moved away from Nashville to Washington, D.C., and I got my first guitar and decided I want to be a guitar player. Well, God had different ideas for me, apparently. So during the school year, playing soccer, going to score a goal, I fell down, landed on a sharp rock on my wrist, my left-handed wrist, compound fracture in the wrist, popped the bone right through the skin. They're in gym class.
Oh, boy.
And the coach came over and said, looked at it. I said, I think I broke my arm. I couldn't pick my hand off the ground.
Oh, no.
It kind of wasn't connected. And he said, yes, here, let's go.
Oh,
and
no.
so my mom had to come pick me up and take me to the hospital, and they, reconstructed it, put it back together. But from that point, once, the cast came off and you think you're getting better, I found I could no longer bend my wrist like you would to put it around the guitar. It just wasn't working like that. So instead, I ended up turning my wrist around the other way and started playing on the piano that we had at home.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I started playing piano, going, I could do this.
Hey.
My parents went out and bought me a Vox Continental organ back in those days. And I started the band with the kid next door who was a guitar player in the suburb we lived at. And that began it. And Yep, that's how it all started. And I just played through high school there. And I was one of the few people that had an actual keyboard, and I could actually play the entire solo of Light My Fire by the Doors.
Nice.
And, of course, the entire Inagata-Davida song.
Oh, no way.
So I was in demand at my young age of 15.
Yeah. Wow. That's great to learn those two songs.
Oh, man. Well, that's the type of music at that point. And my sister listened to all of it. She's the one who actually turned me on to Jimi Hendrix and King Crimson and all these, English prog bands that she was listening to, and so all of a sudden I started getting really enamored with that. But quick funny story, back in those days living there, Detroit bands were making a mark. I mean, I actually bought the album from the MC5 and Bob Seger System, 2 plus 2 is on my mind, that one, and started listening to songs that were coming out of Detroit. Detroit. And all of a sudden, my dad got transferred to Detroit.
Oh, really?
And we came here. I was in 11th grade. Came here and started looking around for people to play with here. And it wasn't right away that I found Steve and Bill, but I had 2 years left in high school. I played with just a couple people, never really did anything big. Got out of high school, going to college to U of M, and all of a sudden somebody I knew Steve and Bill and said, hey, they're looking for a keyboard player. We got together right out of high school, and here we are.
Here you are.
And now, that's how it went.
That's how. Now, when you started, Sweet Crystal back 50 years ago, what was the intention to be a Christian rock band?
No, not at all. Our intention was to be rock stars, period.
Rock stars.
We just saw that lifestyle. And the cool thing was we had similar taste in music. Okay. Steve and Bill both liked the progressive rock side of things. And when we got together, the first song, Sweet Crystal, as a band, and we had a bass player that was from my high school, and Steve and Bill went to school together. That's how they knew each other. They'd been playing for 2 years together even before that. The first song we learned as a band was Echoes by Pink Floyd.
Oh,
the whole, B-side of the metal album.
Whoa.
And that was the first song we put together, and then we started going from there, finding songs of that ilk and genre.
Okay.
And we started playing in biker bars outside of Detroit, which is very interesting.
Yes, it is.
But they seemed to like it because I think they were all doing Quaaludes back then. So that was a whole different animal back then. And I think you could sit and listen to a 30-minute song.
Right.
So, but that's what we did. And we did that for quite a few years. We started in 74. And it wasn't until 78, 79 when things really changed for me that, we became the Christian band that we were going to become. But at those first 4 years, we toured around the States. We opened for people like Bob Seger and Steppenwolf and Foghat and Nazareth and a variety of people.
That's
playing
wonderful.
Some of the bigger arenas, and we just thought that was where we wanted to go.
Yeah, I can see that opening up for those acts and stuff. And Robin Robbins is a good friend of mine from Bob Seger.
Oh, no kidding. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so we hang out once in a while in the studio.
We were just talking about Robin Robbins last night.
You were,
Billy, my guitar player, and myself were playing with a band called Mars Radio, and the drummer is Ralph Serafino. Who used to, who played with the Romantics and played with a variety of people, but he played with Robin Robbins, and we were talking about that band, and he told us a place they were playing back in the day, and I said, we stopped in to see you guys. I said, this is like, what, who knows, 78 maybe?
Right.
It's just so interesting. We're talking all this stuff going, oh my gosh, what a small world.
It is. And Robin's a great guy. He's always in the studio, that's for sure, and yeah, a lot of fun. And the stories that he has to tell, oh my goodness.
Well, and we did open up with Seger on a New Year's Eve out at Kalamazoo, a Wing Stadium that was out there.
Good old, yeah.
And that was years ago, and that was the biggest crowd we had ever played for. So much so back in those days I wore glasses, and I just took them off because I was afraid to look out into the crowd. Yeah. I'd never seen that many people in front of us. Well, we got to play with Blue Oyster Cult and Seger doing that, and that was just a highlight of our lives at that time. It probably still is. Really.
Yeah, I bet it is. So, wow. So we're going to talk about Sweet Crystal for now. Now, podcast land, I want you to get on the platforms because I'm sure Sweet Crystal, you're on every platform, aren't you?
Yeah, pretty much. The internet has allowed everybody, including us, to get our music across the world. The problem is with the internet, everybody's getting their music across the world, so finding you becomes an interesting adventure. But yeah, if you even Google the name Sweet Crystal, the band, you'll get 5-6 pages of hits on us, and you'll find us at every platform.
Yeah, so I'm checking you out on Spotify, so people go to the platforms. When we get to the music part, start listening now because you're going to love what you hear. I mean, this is premier Christian rock music. I'm believing this is great stuff here.
Oh, thank you.
It is, brother. It is. Now, you're on all the platforms. We covered that. Now, I want to talk about Seventh Heaven, the CD.
Oh, that's the latest. If you've noticed the way we put out our CDs, we just started naming them after the actual number that came out. And of course, 7/7 is the seventh CD we put out, and it's got 7 tracks on it. If you go back to Got Your Six, you'll see, go back to 5 Carat Rock, and it does that. But 7/7 is a really interesting mix of songs for us because we put it together during the pandemic years.
Okay.
Some of the songs were brand new, of course, like the opening track, The Other Side of Calvary. But a few of the songs we'd had around for a while, we repurposed them. But one of the songs was written right during the pandemic. A good friend, a good supporter of the band, got sick and died within 2 days from COVID. Gee. And didn't see it coming. And that really hurt us. And we put together the Heaven's Call CD for Vince just because we didn't know what else to do except to memorialize him like that, because you couldn't get together. Yeah. You couldn't go to his funeral. You couldn't do any of that stuff. It wasn't until really summer later that we were able to actually get together with his family and friends and pay tribute to him. But so it was an interesting batch of songs. There's a remake of an old 60s SRC song from Detroit. Anybody from Detroit will probably remember the SRC. But we took that song, and we were dealing with a project that never came out. But it was our version of their song Checkmate that we were allowed to add to the CD as well, just because it made the 7th track. But it's kind of fun to go back and listen to. We like to call it, we crystallize other people's songs. We try to put a cover tune in every release for people to grab onto, but it's not like the original. And so it's basically like us doing our version of somebody's song. But that's what was fun about the 7th Heaven CD, is adding that vintage Detroit song to all of our current songs.
So when you go in the studio, what studio did you use?
Oh, I built one.
Oh, you built one?
Band. Yeah, when we moved into this house back in, I think it was 2001. I've been here 18 years, so whatever that is. When we built this place, we built the basement to be a studio because I'd had 2 commercial studios in Detroit, Redford, and I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't want to run a business like that, but I still wanted to be able to record. So we really designed the basement around the studio for Sweet Crystal. Doesn't mean we don't go other places. We'll sometimes record the bed tracks here, and then for 2 of the releases, we went over to Pearl Sound in Canton with Chuck Alcasian and had him beef up the drums and the mixes and that. But the 7th Heaven CD, we did it all here, and we decided just to do it all ourselves and mix down, and I send it out to get mastered because that's an art in itself.
Oh, it is.
But we just put it all together here and said, you know what? We've got the time, we have the facilities, let's just keep doing this. And I think that's the two-edged sword of having a studio. You can go down and record anytime you want, but the problem is you can go down and record anytime you want. So there's no impetus to go, oh, we got to get this done because I'm paying $250 an hour to sit here at somebody else's studio.
Exactly.
Where you just got to keep working. So here, we used to be a little more lackadaisical about it. It used to take us years to get something out. Now we're much more realizing our age, going, we need to do this faster now because of us, not because there's any kind of deadline. Well, we still can.
Exactly. Okay, good deal. Now, in your studio, I like to ask this because I'm old school. You're old school. I kind of like the analog, but I'm sure you're mostly digital, probably.
Yeah, it is nowadays. We went from, and I actually have some 16-track analog tapes sitting in the back that I should probably send them to somebody to get digitized to pull up some rarities that we've never released. But yeah, then we went through the ADAT DA88 digital tape thing, and now it's all DAW on a platform. That's just the way that it is. But I understand about the analog to the fact that you spend tons of money for software plugins to make you sound analog.
What's wrong with this picture?
To go back, it's like, really? Yeah.
Oh, that's why.
I think we're funny. Yeah, sometimes I really amuse myself like that. I go, really?
Right, I do the same. I think so.
Can you buy a brand new $2,000 keyboard so I can get that old 1950s detuned piano sound of it? Really?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. No, unbelievable. So now, 50 years together, you must have a lot of songs under your belt that you probably haven't even produced yet.
Oh, you know what? That's interesting that you would say that, because one of the things that we've done especially over the last decade, is before the DAWs came in, I would just get a recordable CD burner, and we record all of our rehearsals.
Oh, nice.
And we have a tendency to do a lot of jamming, to find a lick,
right.
play it to death, but just jam on it and play with it. And we started recording all of these things. I probably have close to 100 full CDs of ideas.
Wow.
And it's very interesting. We will pull them out and just kind of listen to them, and some are great and some, are terrible. But there's so many different ideas. All of a sudden we will go, wait a minute, man, this one here goes with. And so Billy and I sat and cataloged all these things and put the keys that they're in and what they were kind of sounded like. And we will go back and yank these things out and go, these two go together. Here's the chorus.
That's
we need a bridge. So you're right. We have a lot of material that we don't really know what to do with. And I wish there were other avenues to just put these things out or give them the soundtrack people, movie people. Just kind of go, this thing sounds like a chase scene. This thing sounds like...
There you go, exactly. Oh, yeah.
It's interesting to me, but you're right. We have a ton of material, which is very cool.
Yeah, that's
If you're stuck for something, just go, what was that one lick you did?
Yeah,
it's nice now because my board that I use actually has a 64 gig thumb drive in it.
Oh, there you go.
So I just hit record, and you can record either multi-track, which is kind of fun because then we can go back and mess with it, but usually we just do 2-track and just record the entire time we're down there.
Okay.
And then I'll go back and listen to it, and I'll cut out the good parts and, make files out of them, send it to anybody that needs them, and then, just erase the thumb drive and keep going. That has been a real blessing for working up new songs. And we're already working on 8, which is, it's interesting if you look at the infinity symbol, if you know what that is.
Yeah.
If you turn it one way up and down, it's an 8. You turn it the other way, it's infinity.
Yes.
So it's kind of cool. So we're going to call it 8, but we're going to put it sideways and then put the name of the band up one side and across the top. So whichever way you want to turn the CD cover, it'll either be 8 or infinity. So it's just kind of fun for us. But
that's cool.
We need 8 songs for that one, so just to keep up the idea of who we are and what we're doing. But we've already started doing that. We've got 3 of those already in the can, so we just keep going.
So then number 8 could possibly be done in a year.
Oh yeah, it should we hope it comes out. The whole thing should come out next year. We're still thinking about releasing a single before the end of this year, and the reason we do that, besides keeping people aware of us, is we've had some pretty good luck with something called the Detroit Music Awards here in Detroit.
I wanted to talk about that. Yes, you've done some spectacular stuff. What was it, 2 times you in 2023 with the Detroit Music Awards?
Yes, yeah, and that makes 25 and 26 for the band. I've got 2 more on my own, but the band's won 26 Detroit Music Awards in every gospel Christian category they've had since the last 11 years or so.
Amazing.
And so Seventh Heaven won it for Outstanding Gospel Christian Recording for this last year. And so that would be the main reason to try to get these out, as to, because we just like trying to get these Detroit Music Awards, we're not being selfish. We just think it's our way of validating our path and our music, that it makes a difference, because that's voted on by the peers. That's voted on by the people in the industry here in Detroit. And so if we get that award, it's not because we're the best at anything, but it's because people realize
people's choice.
We're sincere in who we are and what we're doing. And that to me is just amazing. That people take the time out of their lives to give us that kind of accolades and recognition.
You deserve it. You deserve it. Now, you got 2021 Rising Star Award.
Yeah, that was interesting. I love being a rising star at this age.
Yeah, right, there you go.
that's like going, oh, you guys are an overnight sensation. How's it going? I said, man, it's been a long night.
Yeah, right.
But that was unexpected, very unexpected. We just got a little blurb that they said, you are up for this. Could you please record, in case you happen to get it, could you please record acceptance speech, which is interesting to do.
Oh, yeah.
And then to end up getting it. But here's one other thing that just happened. In the last week, we just got notified by the same company as the academia people out of L.A. that we got nominated and unanimously accepted by the board to be in their Hall of Fame for 2023, which means we will be permanently enshrined in whatever it is that they have out there. So that just came up, and they're going to have a big ceremony now that we can all get back together in May of 2024 for all these Hall of Fame inductees and stuff. So we're thinking, wow, what about a road trip to LA?
That would be fun.
Although I'm not really thrilled with doing road trips like that, but that just came. So once again, it's just little affirmations from people that at least what we're doing is getting noticed somehow by somebody. So that's sweet. That's very sweet.
Well, I've noticed you've got quite a fan base. Yes, you do. And how are the fans treating you? Because I see they're treating you real well. They're liking your music.
People couldn't be nicer to us. And what always amazes me is the fact that we meet new people all the time at these gigs that we play. We do a lot of benefits. As a matter of fact, tomorrow night we have a veterans benefit, Hot Rods for Heroes that we're doing.
Oh, nice.
Saturday we're doing something called Harbor Impact, which is for, needy people up in the Thumb area, and we're doing that. And basically we try to play for events where our presence can make a difference. And so I love the fact that people will come up to us and seem truly appreciative of the fact that we are there giving our time and our energy. We don't ask for money when we play because you can't charge for Jesus. No. So we just show up to do what we're doing. But at some of these events, they're not Christian events.
Yeah.
And what's fun for us is when somebody will come up and start talking to us going, are you guys a Christian band? And you can then just kind of tell them who you are and a little bit of your story, and then ask them if they're going through anything that's causing them a problem, because chances are somebody in my band has gone through it. And we can sit there and talk with them and hopefully give them a little bit of hope and inspiration to say, keep going, stay the path, keep standing, stay sweet. And that's what we tell people. And that's what the fans are for us, because they picked up on our message and they support it. And I think it gives some people the courage maybe to then be able to talk about their faith, because that's hard.
It is.
You know how quick it is for people to be judgmental. So I think by the fact we stand up there and we sing about it, we don't hit people over the head with, Jesus saves, you're going to go to hell if you do this.
Right.
We just sing songs about hope and inspiration and what we've gone through and the truth that we've found. And I think that opens the door. It's not our job to save people. It's our job to point them in the right direction, and that's up to God and the Holy Spirit to do that kind of heavy lifting. But we can at least be beacons of light in what is increasingly a pretty dark world.
It is. And I'm glad you brought that up, because August was No Cover TV's Mental Health Awareness Month for entertainers. So we did 2 shows on that. And we discussed the different mental health issues that entertainers and just regular people go through. And we tell people it's going to be okay. There's people to talk to. People care, and it will be okay. It's just
you know what, Al? That's very big, to let people know that there's someone to talk to. One thing that breaks my heart, and my wife will attest to this. I once told her we weren't going to get married until I got to meet Keith Emerson. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, had him play at my wedding. That was my big thing back then when I was young. But that never happened. But then, he was such an influence on my playing and the music and the way I write and stuff. And I saw him so many times. And then when he took his own life, I was just devastated, because I said, didn't he have anybody to talk to?
Right.
When you read what he was going through and stuff, I said, how is there nobody around him that could take him aside and just tell him, that there was hope, that there was something he could do? That just broke my heart. And that was the impetus for writing the song When I Tell You I Love You.
Okay.
Off of Seventh Heaven, because that's, being a Christian musician, you can talk to other Christians about this, but there are family members or friends or people that you work with that don't want to hear about God. They don't want to hear about church because they've had a bad experience, but they still need help, and you can see that they're hurting. And I wrote that song saying, you know what, if I can't do anything else, I can just tell them that I love them.
Yeah.
And I just felt, man, wasn't there anybody around Keith that did that for him? So I would have loved it. Well, I'll go back and listen to your podcast. And you told me that. I'd be very curious to see what you guys talked about.
Yeah, we had Marq Andrew, country star, come on the second half. That's great to listen to. He went through hell and back and stuff. And so we definitely all talked about different situations and what to deal with and stuff. And we had a mental health therapist here that's a musician also that helped us out. So, it's all about taking care of the musicians. I always look out for the musicians and stuff. I don't like to see them in the dumps or, doing stupid stuff.
I appreciate that, because it is being a creative, which is what a musician being creative. If you've got a strong character, you can just do what you're doing and put it out there and move on. But most people don't have that kind of fortitude. Most people look for recognition and or appreciation or support from somebody. When you put out a song, you're hoping somebody steps up and goes, "Oh, I love that. I understand what you're singing about." But if nobody says anything because everybody's busy or they just don't think about that person needs that, I could see where the mental state would be very hard, because you just put out something very personal, something that's unique to you. You know, it's like having a kid almost. You know, here's my child. Don't you love him? And nobody ever recognizes what he can do. That as a parent, that would hurt you, because this is a very special person to you. So a song to a musician is that same kind of thing.
It is.
You know, and so if you're not getting the support that you think you need or deserve, not that we deserve anything, but you just, as a creative, you want somebody to be touched by it. And if nobody's telling you that they've had that experience with your song, that's hard. You've got to have a stiff upper lip and a rod in the back of your spine to just, all right, I'm going to just keep going. Doing another one. Just keep going.
Just keep going. Don't give up. No, got to keep going. Put the smile on your face and keep moving on. There's great people in the world. There are. And you're one of them, brother. You are one of them.
Sweet. Where do I send the check?
Yeah, right. So let's get to some more stuff here. Now, let's see. Now, you're playing out quite a bit. You're doing a lot of churches and things like that, other places?
You know, I have to say, churches not so much.
Okay.
You know, we do some church events, but we actually play in a lot of secular places, because that's kind of where God sends us. I mean, there are some good clubs around here. And like I said, a lot of times it's a benefit. Tomorrow is the VFW Hall. The weekend's at Impact Ministries. In a couple of weeks, we're doing something that we've never done. It's a tent revival.
Really?
And we're just kind of looking at this going, how exactly does this work? You know, I've seen them on TV, and I guess, it should be fun. So that is a church event of some kind, but we're like the headliner for that. But I also do a lot of what I call solo but never alone sets. And that's when I get away from the band, because one, the venue doesn't need a band, or two, people are busy.
Right.
But I still go out with myself and a single keyboard and do singer-songwriter nights or open mic events where I can go in and still do Sweet Crystal songs, but in just a little different style, because it's just me, although I do have backing tracks with the guys on it. So that's why I call it solo but never alone, because they're always right there with me. So we do that, and those are in everything from, Eagles clubs to bars and restaurants.
Nice.
So we don't not play anywhere. I mean, we basically play everywhere that the doors are open to us. And, I like doing festivals. We did quite a few of them this year.
Great.
Up and around. Those are always fun. Although we're lucky that we didn't get hit really hard with the heat that was like Arts and Beats and Needs just last week. But,
that was terrible.
We're very lucky. We didn't get rained out of one single event this summer in Michigan. That's pretty amazing.
That is. We had some rain this year. Yes. Indeed. So now I want to talk about the solo project. When did you start doing some solo stuff?
Well, I started basically about 6 years ago. My wife and I retired. We worked together for the last 6-7 years of our working life. My wife was a high school teacher for 27 years and became assistant principal in a school district for 13. Well, the last 6 years before we retired, I got hired by the Board of Education of that school district, because I came off the road. I did lots of freelance things, but I was just looking for something else to do. And they needed somebody in the front office, and I got hired, and I ended up being the face of the district, which was pretty interesting. But we worked together, so it was cool. We'd drive in together. We had the same holidays. We had the same time off. And so for 6 years, we worked in the same building. So it was very, very cool. But we both, opportunity came up for Jan to retire, and she called me on the phone, called me in my office and said, I'm going to go tell the superintendent I'm going to give up this job for these new people they were interviewing. And she says, are you good with that? And I said, I'm packing my bags. I'll walk out right the door with you when you go. And so we did. We left 6 years ago. They called us both back for 1 extra year to try to get things squared away with the new people. But after that, I said, all right, I'm going back into music full time. And I know the band could do certain things, but not everything. I started working with a couple other acts. But then I said, you know what? I should really just try to do this on my own because I've never done that. I don't know if I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how it'll be taken. It'll be strange to be on stage and somebody makes a mistake and I realize it's just me. So that's a hard one. You can't really look over at the drummer and go,
who you blame?
Right. So that was a learning experience, and it took me a while before I became comfortable enough, even with the material. Because with a full band, you just play. It sounds great. It's the band, and you got guys on stage. We're all just doing what we do.
Right.
That kind of support. But when you're by yourself,
it's you.
And it's a little scarier because you have no idea if these people have never heard of you.
Yeah.
And you're not playing cover tunes. You're not up there doing, whatever it is. Like when we play open mic, it's like the same songs by the same people.
Mm-hmm.
But you're playing original music that has a message.
There you go.
And it's a little frightening at first, and now I'm much more comfortable about it. I'm very confident in myself now, which is good. If they don't like it, well, life goes on.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah, if they don't like the message, well, I'm sorry, that's hard for you because I'm not telling you anything bad. I'm telling you good stuff.
Right, exactly.
So like I said, it's not my job to convict them. It's just my job to talk about it.
Talk about it. I like how you do that and approach that, Mark. Very nice. Now, I'm going to jump over to the other side of the board here. I want to ask you some basic questions. Are you doing a lot of radio, internet podcasts, reviews, anything like that?
It's been interesting. We did this when Seventh Heaven came out. We had a lot of opportunities for interviews, both print and podcast. The print was intriguing to me because it's been a while since I've had to write down who we are and what we did and where we came from. And that one really changed my idea on how to talk about the band, to be much more succinct and make sure that I'm not just hemming and hawing and patting ourselves on the back because people don't need to hear that. So, yeah, we've been doing quite a few of these things.
Good.
And I appreciate the fact that you took some time to get me on old school like this. I don't know why the studio connection didn't work, but the fact that we're doing it like this works just as well. As long as you get the message out to people and get them to know who you are. But, yeah, I have to say recently we've been doing a lot of these things, and it's usually me that does the talking because I write the majority of the songs, of course, all the lyrics. And so it's easy for me to do this. And Billy still works. He's got a day gig. He's in the music industry. And Steve is a avid full-time golfer. So, you want a podcast or you want to golf? He's golfing.
He's golfing. Okay. That's great. Now, the 50 years of doing this might be a hard question. It might be an easy question. And you've answered it kind of earlier on. What show stands out the most that you played in the 50 years?
Well, you know what? I'd say that the one that we were most thrilled with was back in 2013. Wow, 10 years ago. Holy cow. But that was the year at the Detroit Music Awards that they asked us to open the live show. And these shows are once a year where everybody shows up, and they only allow like 4 or 5 acts throughout the course of the night in between the awards and that kind of, all this stuff's going on. And they said, will you guys be interested in opening the show for 2013? Really? And so right off the bat, we were thrilled. Besides us, we asked a good friend of ours, David Winans, who's the Winans family. He is a big gospel family out of Detroit. And David Winans is a prolific musician, a good bass player, and we play with his band, and we asked him to also join us along with a friend of ours to sing so that we made it a bigger production. And that was the year. Not only did we get to open the show, but we swept all 5 categories in gospel, Christian, and we didn't know that was happening.
Wow.
So that, we were just so thrilled to play, and then all of a sudden to keep getting called back up to get these awards. And we're just going,
what's going on?
So I would say that was probably the biggest thing that ever happened to us all at once, because you just walked away from that going, wow, I guess we are doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes. And
I would say that's the biggie.
That's the biggie. And listening to you and stuff, I asked this question, and you pretty much already stated, but every time you're doing something, you're going on stage, and when you get on that stage, how's your heart feel when you're playing out to those people and they're singing back your songs and jamming to you?
Well, you always start out with your heart beating fast.
Yeah.
I still get nervous right before I start, but and you know why, Al? Is because I'm always afraid the gear's not going to work. I'm not so worried about me, and if I forget my words, not everybody knows our songs, so I can just make them up on the spot, and I'm really good at that. But I'm always hoping that the gear works, because if the gear works, I don't have to think about it. If something breaks, then that's a problem. But anyway, once that's out of the way, the music touches us as we play it. I know that for a fact because we talk about it at times at rehearsals and stuff. But one of the songs called Warriors, which we wrote for the men and women of the armed forces and for their families, that sometimes their sacrifice to let their loved ones go stand in the gap for us is every bit as hard as the warriors going off for us. And when we sing that song, we dedicate it. We ask if there are any veterans in the audience, and we dedicate it to veterans past and present. And that one touches people.
Yeah,
because we're singing from the heart. And you can tell it, me talking to you right now, it chokes me up a little bit because I know where this song came from. And so that's huge. And you see some people out there that are affected, and they will come up to you and thank you.
Yes,
so
they will.
That's big. And tomorrow night's probably going to be just like that, because it's all for veterans tomorrow night. So you get to that song, you just got to take a breath and
get through
dive into it.
Yeah. I that means a lot to me doing that for the vets, because I've done a lot of veteran shows, and
good for you.
The benefits mean a lot to me to do those. Yes, indeed. So thank you for doing those. So now I want to jump to some music a little bit here and talk about a couple songs. So I want to talk about The Other Side of Glory. Beautiful song, very powerful, empowering, and inspirational. Where'd this one come from?
You know what? We started thinking about, everybody knows what Calvary is all about, what Jesus did for believers, for the family, for all of us, even if you're not a believer. He died for you, just so you have the opportunity to go on to what comes next. And we started thinking about that, going, well, what does come next? What's on the other side of Calvary? We know it's heaven, but, the Bible tells you we have no idea what it is, per se. We don't know what it is. We don't know what we're going to be doing. And we thought, well, how in the world, what are we going to do, knowing just kind of what rotten people we are at the core? How in the world do we fit into all this thing? And so that's where that one came from. We started thinking, on the other side of Calvary, just imagine all the things it'll be. And so we wanted to make sure that you realize, once you come to the cross, that's just the beginning of this journey. I mean, and this journey on this plane is still going to be tough. We're not Pollyanna pie in the sky stuff, but what comes next is going to be amazing. That's what Other Side of Calvary was all about. And we just said, you know what? We just got to let people know this is what's next. We think we know, but we don't know, and that's the exciting part about it. We're going to find out.
Well, people out in podcast land, Sweet Crystal, you get on those platforms and check the music out. I mean, very powerful, like I said, empowering and inspirational music there. You're going to love it. You're going to fall in love with it, and you're going to keep playing it. It's beautiful. And thank you, Mark, and the rest of the guys. That music.
Absolutely. Thank you, Al.
And beautiful.
What a nice thing you did for us, doing for us right now with this. It just, the one person that's supposed to hear this will hear it.
Yes, they will. Now, I want a couple of, before we wrap up, we're at 43 minutes or so here. Okay. What's the future looking for you guys? You've been 50 years. Are you going to do another 50?
Well, I guess that all depends on what the science comes up with.
Yeah, right.
But you know what? We have, it's all in God's hands. We have no plans to stop. We've got, rehearsal schedule. We're booking things up through November already, and we just hope to just stay together and keep doing what we're doing. I have no reason to think there's any reason to stop. The cool thing about music, and if you're a musician, you know this, you can keep playing until you can't.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a superstar or a virtuoso. You don't have to be the fastest keyboard player, the fastest guitar player in life to just keep playing. Just the act of playing releases the endorphins.
Yes, it does.
That'll soothe your spirit.
Oh, it does.
So we'll just keep doing this until God calls us home, and that's kind of how we look at it. But we keep writing. We don't stop. We just keep doing what we're doing, and every time we get together, we come up with a lick that we just archive and say, all right, keep that around. I like that.
Unbelievable.
There's no reason for us to stop until we're called home.
Exactly. I agree with you, Mark. You're doing a beautiful thing, all of you, and I want you to continue spreading the word. And it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to everybody out there. I know it does.
Well, thank you, man. If people want to get hold of us, just go to sweetcrystal.com, send us, join the email list, send us an email, and I'll be glad to send you links to download any of our CDs. Like I said, we don't really charge for Jesus. We give away CDs at shows, although a lot of people don't have CD players anymore. So, they make a lovely coaster.
Yeah, they do.
But, they're just kind of a tchotchke nowadays. But anyway, we're always glad to send links to any of our music for people if they want to download it and grab it. We're not into it for the money. We're just into it to keep spreading the message of the gospel and do it in a way that hopefully people will tap their feet to and start humming along.
Beautiful, beautiful. Man, Mark, awesome gentleman here from Sweet Crystal. Check them out. You're going to love this, people. And they're working on number 8, which hopefully will be done within the year.
Nice.
Yes. So we're going to kind of wrap this up. We could almost do another second part here, which we probably will soon. But this is your show. How do you want to wrap it up? Who do you want to thank or props to?
You know what? We end every Sweet Crystal live show with these same words. Lord, bless you and keep you. Lord, make his face shine down upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord lift up his countenance upon you and grant you the peace that passes all understanding. Stay standing, stay safe, stay sweet.
And stay strong. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. And that was my next question for you. I wanted you to end the show with a prayer.
Nicely done.
You're amazing, man, Mark. I appreciate you coming on the show today. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
I look forward to meeting you in person, man. It sounds like we would have quite a good time together.
I think we would, too, and we're not far apart, so I think that can happen.
Cool.
Definitely.
God bless you.
You too, my friend. I'm going to get this together and get it on the platforms. I'll shoot you the link. We're going to stay in touch because I want you back on sooner than later, okay? We got more to talk about.
Excellent. Thanks, Al. Have a great rest of your day, man.
You too, brother, and everybody out there at Podcast Land. No Cover TV supports the original, local, and national music. Check out Sweet Crystal. Get on the platforms right now and play that music. You're going to love it. Thanks, Mark. I'm going to talk to you soon, brother. Peace. We're out of here.